what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in again on All Elite Zone. AEZ here on YouTube every Tuesday night. Thanks again for joining us, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please tell your friends and family. We really appreciate that. And there is my co-host with the background says it all, Adam, the bearded bruv. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right, doing all right. Still recovering from my trip this weekend, but hey, I'm gonna earn some money, so I can't complain.
Well, that's great. Well, when you're a winning bowling champion, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to go on those national tours.
Not yet. I'm not there yet. I'm still at the beginner level.
Well, I'm sure there's some big things. So, well, good for you. As long as you had fun and get away to these little tournaments, it's great. Those are always nice because you get to just chat and meet other people who are just as passionate about, bowling or whatever happens to be. Just like when wrestling fans together, I love being around wrestling fans, right? Because talking with someone who actually has that passion. So, I'm sure you had a chance to see or talk with people that even if you thought you love bowling, there's always someone else who will love bowling more than you.
Yeah, that's true. And the only reason I got into it is because the significant other, she's done it for her whole life, and just watching her, I'm just like, I might as well just join a league. And so I joined the leagues like 2.5 years ago, and haven't turned back. So that's what I've been doing.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't know if you guys have it where you're from, but up here we have like battle axe, and so we can join. And actually, one of the best leagues I was ever part of was a axe throwing league.
Yeah, we have
Um,
those.
yeah, Battle Axe. And I think there's a couple others. There's other names, but it's really cool because the one that I was part of, it was all connected to all the locations across North America. So when you're doing it's all digital, you can actually see your score like across the nation, which I thought was really cool to have that type of. You could see where you're going to rank. So when they actually do the tournaments, it means something because you can potentially have seen these names, popping up all around from all these different locations. So, anyways, well, it is fun, and again, it's always nice to visit a new city and meet some new people and do one of your favorite things. So good on you. But we're back for another week, episode 47. Wow, we're creeping up. We're gonna do for our 50th.
I don't know, man. I'm talking elite has surpassed Canada because this show came in later, but you'll
Yeah,
get there. And once you get to 50, you'll figure something out.
yeah. What are you on? What are you guys on over there?
I'm on like episode like 70 something.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. We came. That was how
I
late?
posted about 20 of them, so I'm like,
Wow, that's awesome. Well, good
I'll
on
say
you.
quite a
And
bit of them.
yeah, I'm sure you have. Are you going to be doing your show this week?
Yes, yeah, that's a big one this week, and I'll save that for the end.
Okay, no, perfect. No, good stuff. Well, again, always lots of wrestling going on, and I'll mention, I guess I'm just outside here in Toronto. I didn't go to it this year, but with the Money in the Bank, WWE had a huge weekend here in Toronto. And I think it's worth mentioning that a boy that actually two of the boys that were like in the main event are really literally down the street from Hamilton and Niagara Falls. A short distance here from Toronto. We saw Ethan Page and the chairman. We're both in that main event, and wow, what a finish! I thought, I know we're talking all elite zone or AEW here, but I think it's worth mentioning, Ethan Page, who is, a local boy here, just outside of Toronto, as well as a former AEW, superstar. So, anyways, good on him. 6 weeks in, and boom, they put the belt on him. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that, the match, or even that finish, the way he won it, I thought was pretty creative. So that was a neat way to kind of keep things, pumped up. And that's pretty, what do you think about that? 6 weeks in, and they've already put the belt on him.
I mean, he's definitely him and Jade like really blend into that WWE style. I think so. I think they're both perfect for that kind of style of professional wrestling. WWE, their entertainment style and their personas. And I thought it was great. I mean, it was in Canada, so I knew it was either going to be Sean or Paige. I said, because you're in Canada, one of those guys has to win in their hometown. I did read somewhere someone made a comment about him winning, and then they're like, "Oh, AEW did the same with Paige having or Saraya having her win in England and then losing it like a month later." I said, "Okay, maybe that does happen with Paige. Maybe give him the pop, give him something else." But At the same time, maybe let him run with it. I also read an article saying that the impact that some of these new wrestlers have had on the NXT. People like Sean Spears and Ethan Page, and even some of the TNA wrestlers like Jordan Grace or Joe Hendry. So all these guys are having like impact on the locker room of NXT because these are all up and coming people in NXT. They come from all different kinds of backgrounds. I mean, Lola Vice comes from an MMA background. So it's like they all come from different backgrounds. Kehlani Jordan is a former Olympian, like an athlete in gymnastics or whatnot. So I think just the impact of that. So I think having someone like an Ethan Page kind of run with the title and kind of be the face. And I'm going to say right now, I don't think it's a snide at AEW putting the title on him because the guy's still a workhorse. I mean, he was doing stuff before he even went to AEW. To me, he was the other half of the North in TNA with Alexander, whatever his name is.
Oh
Josh
yeah,
Alexander. Thank you, Josh,
Josh Alexander. Yes,
and him as the North. Like that's where I remember him from.
they were tag team together. I didn't know
Uh,
that. They were
yeah,
Ethan Page and Josh Alexander were tag team.
when Ethan was over in TNA, he tag teamed with Josh Alexander, and they were known as the North, and it was really cool because Josh Alexander is from Canada as well, and so they teamed as the North. It was kind of like a new incarnation of Team Canada that they had in the early days of TNA with like Scott D'Amore and his little group, and I think Petey Williams. Like they had that small Canada team, so it's kind of like a reincarnation of that. But I actually love it. I think Ethan Page deserves it. He deserves a little spotlight on him and everything like that. And I wish him the best, and I hope they have some longevity out of this.
Yeah, me too. And NXT has always benefited from bringing guys in from the independent circuit, or Ring of Honor or whatever it happens to be. Again, back when I loved when the Undisputed first, showed up when they were heavy into NXT, when Sami Zayn, when Kevin Owens, when all those guys were in NXT. It was awesome, right? Because again, that had that feel. These guys were developed elsewhere. Because I don't know about you, but you can really tell, especially in the women's division, you can really see who's just been bred and learning from WWE. Because the way their interviews are always a certain way, their mannerisms, their acting is kind of like hit and miss. Their style is just so WWE because that's what they learn. So I love when these guys kind of bring in a bit of a flair that they've learned elsewhere. And a lot of these guys have had to develop their character and their charisma and everything on their own and on the mic, and just by being out there and practice and working the circuits to get that experience. So throwing like an Ethan Page into the mix, I think is great. I think he's got a great mouthpiece that's perfect for NXT right now. And it's great. I love it. I love when someone's like, "Hey, let's run with this guy. It makes sense right now." To throw the belt on after 6 weeks, well, that's a pretty big statement. And even if it is for a month, man, the guy's only been there 6 months, 6 weeks anyway. So like, that's an amazing feat in itself. So sure, I hope he holds it to the next pay-per-view, whenever that happens to be. At least he has to defend into a pay-per-view. But I think if they, with this kind of confidence, they're going to really beef up, and I think you're going to see a lot of promos from Ethan Page. I think he has something to teach some of these guys, and it's just a refreshing. They need someone like him right now, that the kind of credible, has had the attitude, has the confidence, has some of the charisma, and I think that's the kind of that's what they need. So good on him, and I agree. I think that's really cool, and I love the idea. I love the idea, the fact that they put Sean Spears in that, that four-way. I thought that was a great move too. So and again, and play to the local crowd, right? I think that's always a big benefit, especially when you're playing to a Toronto crowd, because Toronto's it's a big city for support. Toronto loves their boys and girls, who are from the city. They'll always come out and support. So anyways, good on him. So I guess we should talk some AEW, hey? So
yeah.
So I guess one of the big ones we'll kind of bring up off the top is MJF. It's back. He is back. The real MJF showed up, and we knew it was only a matter of time. And Definitely in dramatic fashion, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I quite saw that coming this week, but again, as we've had talks and like we've talked again quite extensively about what we think the lineup is going to be for All In and how like, things can be possible and what kind of things can happen. This totally makes sense, right? We're gonna it totally it got him to change. Got him to go back to the heel, really in dramatic fashion, and he busted open and destroyed one of the new beloved pillars. So I think that was a good pick in Danny Garcia for the fans to be like, oh my god, what are you doing to Danny Garcia, right? He's like the baby face of baby faces right now. So I thought it was a great choice and a great way to reverse that match that he was going to give him, and then focus on and give us the Osprey and MJF match that we were talking about. That I think that we said that would go over really well. But Adam, I'll pass it over to you, and your thoughts on this, and compared to what we've been thinking and talking about all along.
Well, yeah, I think we all agreed that MJF is a better heel than a face. His face run, especially the time with Adam Cole and then his return, like I think a lot of people were like kind of iffy on it because the way his character was, they were cheering him because he was such a good heel. They're like, this guy is definitely a good heel. Like we'll chant like he's our scumbag and a hole. We'll feed into it. Then he comes back and he's feeding off the crowd, but it just didn't feel right. And so him turning on Daniel Garcia, like I feel was the right thing to do, and it was a good setup. Him being like, "Hey, Garcia and MJF all in. Let's do it. Let's have a match like that." And I can totally see MJF kind of weaseling his way into maybe an international title before All In against Will Ospreay. So we may get an MJF Ospreay match before All In, or maybe at All Out, depending on where they go with All In. Because I honestly do think that we could do a Daniel Garcia MJF match at All In, and it'd be great. And while he's still doing a beatdown, Will Ospreay could come out and make the save again, and that kind of sets up, builds more of the story between those two of having a match at All Out. Have Will defend his title against someone else at All In, retain, for the home crowd, and then just have MJF just be the worst instigator to Will Ospreay to make him give him a title shot at All Out. Basically saying, I want Taste of Gold again, and I'm going to come after you, Ospreay, blah, blah, blah. You took my spot. The story's there. So I think it's just perfect timing to have MJF turn heel. I mean, because, yeah, he came back. He had that great match with Roosh and all that stuff, but the face feel to it was not there. And so I think this is the right call, and this is also more bold well for Daniel Garcia to kind of build him up as a true babyface. Have the crowd sympathize with him. Like, why is he getting beat up? He doesn't deserve that. He didn't do anything, So I think it's a good build, and I think we're going to get a really good payoff with MJF as the heel. Eventually, challenge Will Ospreay, who's the biggest name to come to AEW in a while, and we're going to get a good payoff with them at All Out.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be Osprey and MJF for the title at All In at Wembley. I think you're gonna see up until that point. I don't think you're gonna. I definitely see maybe a blood and guts. I can see MJF either actually facing Danny Garcia or Matt Menard, right? It's kind of a build up, and whether that's another destructive match or especially if it gets Matt Menard, just a kind of another build up match to kind of show how brutal he is, and really emphasize the heel in him. But no, I agree. Like he is a better heel. His promos are better. It's time. We did get the babyface version, and he's know why. Like when a wrestler's gone for 6 months, a year, it's the same reason why they bring in. Say they brought in Mercedes Monet.
Mm-hmm.
They brought her in kind of as a face with. I think obviously the idea from the get go was the heel turn. But it's that overall thing. I think we've touched on it when you have those big returns after so long, and when you're trying to do a heel, like when Triple H came back after tearing his quad out and he was gone for like close to a year. everyone was excited. He was still a heel, but how can you be a heel when you got the whole place is erupting and saying, welcome back and cheering you? Because again, they just love the wrestler and they love the person. So I get why it's hard to bring someone back right away and just be a heel when they've been a fan favorite and they're gonna, people will give that respect and want to cheer because they're finally back, right? So I get that, and I think, and that's why they did it. Say with MJF, but yeah, you know what? Great. I'm good with the heel turn. His promos will be better, but so this would actually kill anything. I mean, because of this hard heel turn, even if they wanted to do something with Adam Cole, just say, would that even make sense? Because Adam Cole was supposed to be the devil and the heel, but all of a sudden now MJF is back even more heel, right? And then we don't haven't seen Adam Cole, right? So that kind of would kill that whole, and maybe that's the whole reason why they felt, okay, let's just put a quick end to it when they gave him the brain buster in the ring, and that was it when MJF first came back, and then that was it. I don't know if that was kind of a try and do some kind of finale while he was still a babyface, because it wouldn't necessarily make sense now. I mean, I guess they could, but it just wouldn't have the same impact because you're gonna have two guys that are super heels going at it, right? So I don't know. What do you kind of, even if you thought, even if they were doing, even with that side story or the completion of that story, what did you think? What do you think they could even finish it now?
I don't know. I mean, Adam Cole is in a weird spot right now, where he's at right now as far as storyline and just where he at is on the roster. I mean, they may be gearing him up for something. I don't know what it is, but and the other question is how fully healed he is from his injury, and did he re-agitated during anything and stuff like that. So my thought process is I don't know where the payoff would be. It's just weird to have this whole heel versus heel. I think what we got from MJF and Adam Cole at that pay-per-view uh, basically was it. I think it was the sum of it. That's it. MJF came back, kicked them, brainbuster, boom, tell them to get out of my ring. That's it. I think that's the payoff that um, that we're gonna get from that Adam Cole MJF, and that's fine because I feel like MJF can move on to something and make it something, no matter who he's with. Because MJF is just, hate to say it, is just that good. Like he's that good. I mean, he's can make any storyline out of anything. So I mean, look what he's doing with Garcia. So I think the big payoff with Cole and MJF is fine where it's at, unless they make Cole come back as a face. I mean, that's the only way they can, no pun intended, save face of that feud is just basically have Adam Cole come back as a face, kind of have, and I'm kind of seeing it where Roderick Strong and Bennett and Tavern are with rallying behind Kyle O'Reilly now again. Like I can see where those four can kind of become a group, and kind of the Undisputed Kingdom didn't work out, so they kind of fade that out to where Adam Cole can kind of go off on his own now and kind of become that face that he was supposed to be.
So yeah, I mean, I like that group, and I can see it. They're still kind of out there. So what's going to happen? Is it going to be, is Kyle O'Reilly eventually going to join? Because you said they were partners before. I know. Obviously, I didn't know with the other two guys. The Ring of Honor champions. I didn't really know the history with them and Kyle O'Reilly. I obviously know from Roderick, especially in WWE and NXT days. But so they were also like a group, like the four of them at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would
Yeah.
kind of make
So yeah, no, Roderick and I mean O'Reilly were the um, undisputed era in NXT,
mhm.
obviously. And then obviously all these guys grew up through the indies and all that and were teams together, like Tavern and Bennett and all those guys. They grew up through the indies and kind of wrestled with each other. So they all know each other. I mean, they're all good friends in real life, and it's just projected now on screen. So, I mean, they do have some history together.
Yeah. What do you? Um, so yeah, I mean, if I would like to see if that was the case, right? And maybe have Adam Cole. I'd like to see if anything, because uh, like again, Wardlow.
Mhm.
just again disappeared. I'd like to see him in that case, like he could be almost that kind of bodyguard type character for Adam Cole, kind of like how he was with MJF, right? So again, it's just another shame of like, okay, so what happened? You've got Wardlow just kind of fizzled out again,
Yeah,
right? So which I don't get because you've got the other guys, the other undisputed guys, and he's supposed to be undisputed. So why aren't we seeing Wardlow? Right? I don't get that. Like,
yeah. You know what, with that, and I kind of agree with Danny. Like when she's always talking about it, with her love for Warlow. Like, yeah, you have him there. I mean, utilize the guy. If not, let him go venture off into some other things he might want to do. See if he can go over to TNA. I think he would do great in TNA. He could be a good monster face against like a champ like Moose. Have those two go
mhm,
at it. For the TNA title, or he can mix it up with PCO over there, and obviously that would be his gateway into WWE at some point because TNA and WWE have a good working relationship right now. So I mean, he can eventually make his way over to another promotion if you're not going to utilize him.
yeah. Or if anything, I'm surprised they're not at least utilizing him in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Let the guy be a monster there. Like, I don't know. Or do you even, does it feel like Ring of Honor? Again, maybe I'm just biased because I just don't have the time to watch Ring of Honor. And I feel I get enough of it just from watching AEW or what I need to see. But I mean, is Ring of Honor fizzling out? Like, do
I
people,
think so. I think, I mean, with Ring of Honor, you're not getting what Tony Khan was planning on doing with it, was making it its own entity, and just basically, yeah, because you only got the Ring of Honor club, but I doubt they have enough subscribers to keep that thing going for another year or so. Because I don't hear much about Ring of Honor other than the Death Before Dishonor pay per view that they do
Mhm.
all the time, and that's pretty much all I hear about it. I don't hear about anything else. I mean, I know a few people, are subscribed to the Ring of Honor thing and they get to watch some shows, but I mean, they record most of those matches either before or after, Dynamite or Collision. They record all those episodes. They sometimes do them at a studio in Orlando. Like, they do all this stuff, and it's like, I don't know how much more people keep up with Ring of Honor. I mean, even look at your Ring of Honor champion, like Briscoe. Briscoe's on AEW right now and is part of that Blood and Guts match.
Mhm. He's in
Why
there
is
every
he
week
still
right now.
walk?
He's
Why
every
is he?
week.
Yeah. Why is he still walking around with the Ring of Honor World Title if they're not going to utilize him there and just keep him on AEW television? So, I, and that's cool. I like Briscoe. I like Mark Briscoe. I'm glad he's getting more utilized in AEW, but holding around that Ring of Honor title while he's getting utilized on AEW doesn't make sense to me. So I guess it's almost like a reminder of like, oh, hey, by the way, we still own this brand, Ring of
Mhm,
Honor.
mhm.
And that's kind of what it makes me feel like.
Same as like when you see yeah, again, you just said is the guys with undisputed,
Mm-hmm.
the guys at Ring of Honor.
Bed in a tavern.
Yeah, yeah, those guys. Again, all you've seen constantly. I never see them wrestle. I don't know how much that they actually wrestle on Ring of Honor, but they're just walking around. They're always just on AEW, on Dynamite or whatever. Um, yeah, it just takes away. It's almost like it has that feeling of uh, when um, when Vince McMahon bought ECW, and then they were having ECW matches, kind of like matches before, after any of the events, right? So it's kind of the same arena, and you can just change the buckles or change the skirts and change some of the lighting, but it's still it loses, right? It kind of loses what made it special. It's kind of like why TNA still is special right now. Even they have a bit of a connection right now with WWE, but it would change completely if you all of a sudden heard that, oops, you know what, WWE now owns TNA. It would lose that appeal that it has, right? That there's the little guy that could, it's like that. You're cheering for that. Um, there's something special about it, right? But as soon as we get bought up, I guarantee, just which I kind of feel that's what happened with ECW. It was never the same. You've got Ring of Honor seems to be just gone. Like you almost killed it. It's getting killed, right? So I think that would happen if you saw something like that with TNA getting bought. I mean, there's certain excitement with it. Like, hey, great, we can infuse. There's money, there's support, there's national exposure. Yeah, but then now you're turning into a WWE brand. You're just another notch on the belt, right? Now you're actually competing. You'd be competing against NXT, kind of, right? Because that's kind of where I can think those are more the similarity, but and then you see the same thing. But anyways, I don't even know if that'd even be a possibility. First things first, there's some working relationship, which is kind of neat. So, but yeah, I just wanted to, what was actually happening during Ring of Honor? I mean, do we just kill it? Do we just have Briscoe because he feels like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you need a belt. So here's Ring of Honor belt, right? Because again, he can't be holding the other belts right now. So at least to give him something. Just saying this, like, you forget Kyle Fletcher, isn't he like the TV champion still? Like,
Believe he lost that. I can't remember. He
right?
might have.
Right. So, anyways, interesting. But again, if there's I was gonna we would look at the blood and guts mats that you brought up as well, right? And we can see that it is the Elite versus Team AEW again, or what it feels like. So for this, who are we seeing? Is the obvious pick, for the Elite based on the Attitude and Hangman coming back? Does it seem like the right choice to have Hangman join as the fifth member of the Elite and have him go back into the fold there with kind of a new attitude and a super heel?
As you mean about it, I mean, as part of Team Elite. I mean, I don't know. The way he interacted with the Young Bucks that one time on TV, I don't think he wants anything to do with them. And so I think right now would be probably. I mean, you got Okada, the Bucks, Jack Perry. I'm trying to think who would be a perfect fit for them. I mean, they could go deep into their pockets and find someone no one would have expected to join them. As far as AEW side, I mean, right now you only have Mark Briscoe. At some point, you're maybe going to add Kyle O'Reilly in there, just because of the way those two interact, Mark and Kyle. They've got like this weird bond or something like that. That anytime you see them on TV, maybe you get an Orange Cassidy in there. So I mean, you got those three already because you've seen those three together a lot. So. But then again, I mean, who do you fill with those last two?
How about the Acclaimed?
The Acclaimed, I mean, that's a possibility.
Because they've been feuding, right?
They've been feuding with the Young Bucks, so you can add the Acclaimed in there. So, I mean, there's your 5 right there for AEW. Because I don't think Billy Gunn is getting involved in that match.
No.
So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, you can have Mark, Kyle, and Orange Cassidy team with the Acclaimed. And now you just got to find a fifth person for, the Elite. And yeah, I mean, if they want to go super heat route, they could add Hangman Page back in there. No one would love to see him back with the Elite. It would just give him more heat.
But I don't know if you recall, Swerve said, "Hey guys, the next time there is a team like AEW, you better come to me because a champion should be in that kind of match, right?" Because he said to the guys when they did the Stampede match, right? So maybe it's like, if this is going to be a quote unquote Team AEW again, then I guess Swerve could be kind of a cool addition to that, even though it wouldn't necessarily work because he's not really feuding with anyone necessarily directly with the Elite yet. But unless it was Hangman Page that joined on, and then you had Swerve as the team. So then you had those two guys that are heating back up, and then get that, because that's, you can see obviously that's leading to, I think all in, right? I think that's leading. So that would make sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think then I would probably replace Kyle O'Reilly with Swerve, because I think you keep Orange Cassidy in there because Orange Cassidy is AEW. I mean, the guy has been shot to the moon in AEW as Orange Cassidy. So yeah, if you're talking Blood and Guts team as AEW, yeah, I think you replace Kyle with Swerve. So you have like the team of Swerve, Mark, sorry, something got in my mouth. Orange and then the Acclaimed versus the Elite with Hangman Page. I mean, right there, that'd be a decent blood and guts match. That's almost worth buying a ticket to, which I still haven't decided if I want to. So, I mean, it's debating. I'm still debating it, but
Have you checked ticket prices?
yeah, everything ringside is very expensive.
I bet. I bet. Is there actually
So
ringside available?
there's a lot of ringside available still. There's like
Really?
5 rows back from ring. Like it's still available. Last time I checked.
Wow.
So
And
yeah,
when is Blood and Guts?
the 20. I want to say the 24th.
Okay.
So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. So yeah, that's my pick, and maybe it's your pick as well. So we'll see if we're close on that one. But I think that would, for the most part, those groups would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make sense. Um, yeah, so that'd be interesting, and again, I think also you're going to see like a Blood and Guts. We're going to get a MJF and either Danny Garcia or Matt Menard. I think we're going to see that there as well for Blood and Guts. But this would set up, I guess, this coming tomorrow. We're going to see Dynamite that's live from Calgary, Alberta, and is actually going to be the final of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament that they do every year, where we're seeing, which actually it makes sense. It's a good matchup. We got Hangman Adam Page after he went to town on Switchblade, that's interesting because again he was going full out heel, and Jay's as heel as you get as well. So that was kind of an interesting one, but we're going to have Danielson versus Hangman for the final there to be the Owen Hart champion. And you know what, I have to, my heart says Danielson because he really should, for his type of wrestling and the type of wrestler that he is. It totally makes sense for him to be the Owen Hart Championship and just give him something without giving him a belt, right? Because I know we talked about, hey, is there any opportunity for Danielson in his twilight year, how long he has left? Does it make sense to put a belt on him, give him one last run? And it doesn't really, but you can put on a title like this and give him basically a trophy, because I do feel that he deserves some kind of belt, some kind of, I don't know, trophy, some kind of championship before his time is done. Yet, if Adam Page loses, that's going to kind of, put a halt this momentum he has as kind of as a crazy heel and really to do anything to anybody, and that might kill the momentum for him and Swerve, which I think is going to be, I just think it makes sense that Adam Page wins the tournament and goes on to face Swerve at All In. I don't know how do you feel about this match and the outcome?
I mean, yeah, but I also feel like, is that a good enough match to sell tickets? I mean, obviously you're gonna sell tickets to it. But for the world title, I mean, Swerve versus Hangman, which everyone has seen already, and yeah, it was a good feud. Can lightning strike twice with it? I mean, obviously, I would love to see Daniel Bryanson kind of get one by Hangman and have Hangman just lose it and finally snap and actually go back to the Elite, which would continue our idea of him joining the Elite in that Blood and Guts match, and just kind of see a good match between Swerve and Bryan Danielson. I mean, if anyone can put over Swerve anywhere, it's Bryan Danielson at Wembley Stadium. I think that'd be a match everyone would love to see, especially for someone on their last tour of wrestling as Bryan Danielson. And so having him as a veteran in the game, putting over someone like Swerve, even though not saying Swerve's a young buck and brand new, but putting someone over to make him seem like a legitimate champion. I mean, because Bryan Danielson has won titles all over the world. And so having Swerve go over someone like Bryan Danielson at All In makes him look more legitimate. I just don't think that having him and Hangman again, just because it was such a good feud, and a fire feud will put a lot of people make a lot of people excited for All In. But having Brian Danielson, especially when you say this is his last year wrestling, the crowd over there will eat it up. They're like, we just want to see him in the title match. Just have him and Swerve go for 30 minutes, almost 60 minutes, and just have a banger of a match for the main event. And that's, I think, what a lot of people would like to see. So my money would be on Brian Danielson somehow getting one over on Hangman tomorrow to the point where Hangman just loses it and joins back up with the Elite. I mean, and just be like, you guys are right. Like, I need your guys' help. I can't even win a tournament, So I can see where that can happen.
Yeah, once again, Adam, you always make a good point. And you know what? And I mean, I do agree that I can just picture, as you were saying, that an entire Wembley Stadium doing the yes chant. Right?
Not even that, just singing the final countdown that he comes out to. That whole crowd would sing "It's the Final Countdown" with him coming out. You could just hear that whole stadium go, "It's the final countdown." Like that would be perfect. I think every person would be like, "Oh, chills!" Like,
yeah. And for me, along with the yes, and seeing a massive crowd and that one of the biggest ones, and again, he's headlined WrestleManias, right? So he definitely has that experience. And I 100% agree with you that match would be a great match. And for Swerve to win that, another big match against like Danielson, and he also beat Ospreay. That would really set it up. So I think it'd be. I think it'll end up being Swerve and MJF in All Out in Chicago. I think that would be a huge match as well. That would also lead into that. That could be another big one, and that could be a title for title. Just say if MJF beats Ospreay for the international, and then you have that'd be a really cool title for title match. Again, great possibilities, man. That's why we love AEW. Yeah, I don't know. It's there's so many possibilities, and I both ways. I mean, I agree. I agree with you that we have seen Adam Page and Swerve, and we've seen the most brutal versions of that. So even if you're like, okay, we'll make it a street fight. Oh wait, they've already basically done that, and all right, how about they do this? Like, no, they've all done that as well, and they've stapled themselves, stapled each other, drank each other's blood. Like, so I know they've done like any kind of special match. It would have to be a real special match in stipulations if they're going to do it, right? To keep on upping the ante with these guys. So yeah, you know what? I just don't know. But I'm sure tomorrow night's going to make things a lot clearer. So that would be interesting. So so that would make sense then. I mean, to what I feel that, Brian Danielson kind of deserves to win the Owen Hart. I think that'd be a nice tribute for him. And I think if anyone could deserve it, it would be Brian Danielson for the type of career he's had and the type of wrestler he's been. So if he wins it, to me, it'd be very fitting. So, but I do like how they've put this new stipulation in, and I do like how they've, made it even more special, right? Not just like, hey, you've won, the tribute to Owen Hart. It's now you get a championship match. So I love that, right? It's kind of that, winning the Royal Rumble, right? You get that opportunity. So if they keep that stipulation, that makes it really special, which is good. So, now we kind of touched on it before we hopped on tonight on the women's side, right? And you mentioned we got the final. It's Willow versus Mariah May. My first reaction is like, oh well, Willow's going to win this, right? Let's is she going the face? Would she fight Toni Storm, or is this a pick? Is it a pick whatever champion you want? Because I mean, in that case, then she could be fighting Mercedes Moné potentially. But you brought up a good point, saying no, it makes sense for Mariah because they've been building up with Toni Storm. So that I was like, yes, you're right there. So yeah, so yes, you've always come up, and I'll let you talk about why that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean the whole build ever since Mariah May became Tony's understudy, and the whole love, and this is my child, my love, like she'll never betray me. She's good as anyone else, blah blah blah. And like just having that story come full circle at All In, of where it's the student and teacher one on one, where it's Tony like, I taught you, now show me what you've got. And I mean, what a shocker would it be if Mariah May wins the title? I would be a shocker, and I think it would be a huge curve. I mean, granted, what Toni Storm has been doing during her title reign has been phenomenal, phenomenal reign, and I can't even think how long her reign has been so far. I would have to look that up, but it's been pretty decent. Um, Let me look this up. But no, I think the story writes itself, obviously, and so I mean the whole student teacher, the whole what's it called, child versus mother kind of style, where like this is my child. She's held it for 231 days, so I honestly think that that's a good reign. Do they let her hold it longer? Who knows? But I think it would just be a shocker if Mariah May won it. Especially the crowd that's there. That the crowd that's going to be at Wembley.
Hmm.
And because you know Mariah May is from London, so I mean she's born from London, England. She was born there. So I mean,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
Tony is New Zealand. So I think having a hometown girl like Mariah win it in front of that crowd, I think people would go nuts. Kind of reminiscent of what Saraya did last year in front of the crowd. You know, I
It's
think
like the Davy Boy Smith winning the Intercontinental belt off of Bret
champion.
Hart, right?
Yes,
At
yes, in
SummerSlam.
the UK at SummerSlam. Yes, it's
Yeah.
reminiscent of that in front of the home crowd. They want to see their hometown hero win it, and I think they're gonna cheer both of them. You're gonna have a great match. You're gonna have a great section for both of them. And I think in the end, I think when Mariah May wins, you're not gonna see a Tony Storm lose meltdown you'll see Tony Storm hug Mariah May, raise her hand. You'll see a face Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm, embracing her child, finally winning something. And I think right there and then, and it'd be a perfect time to reintroduce Jamie Hayter. I mean, it's right there. You just brought back Britt Baker to feud with Mercedes Moné. Who better to start a feud with Mariah May than Jamie Hayter? Like, hey, Tony, you remember me? I'm the one you took the title from originally. Well, guess what? I'm back to take it from your protege. Story writes itself. And so I think it'll be great at All In. And I think what we're gearing for, speaking of women, because I like to, I like to promote the women's side of wrestling. I, I think we're gearing for a Britt Baker Mercedes Moné match at All In as well.
Hmm.
I think that's a guaranteed with the way that promo was with her and Mercedes last week. I think we're gearing up for it. I think right now, I mean, honestly, the two belts on Mercedes, it's a lot. And maybe this, even though Mercedes has a lot to say in her booking and all that stuff, maybe Mercedes Monet does respect AEW enough to be like, listen, this is AEW's girl. Britt was here definitely before me. Now that I've got the New Japan title that I've wanted, maybe I can pass this TBS title off to Britt Baker. Or you can have a series of matches between the three or between the two of them. I mean, you could have one at all in, have Mercedes win in some heelish style, and then all out have the rematch in a certain story where again, like Britt Baker used to do as women's champion, find a way to win by cheating with either outside interference or just cheating somehow, and then finally that third payoff match at maybe Full Gear, have Britt Baker finally win the TBS title, put a title back on Britt Baker because she hasn't held the title in a long time, a very long time. She hasn't held the women's title I believe, since she lost it to Thunder Rosa in that steel cage match. That was the last time she held the title.
Wow.
And that was 2 years ago, maybe, I believe. It's 2022, I believe, when she lost
Yeah.
that title. So, I mean, I think it's time to put a title back on Britt Baker because she's your golden girl. She's the one you signed first to your promotion. And I think Mercedes understands that, hence why this is such a good feud because I believe this has been wanted for a long time. Ever since Mercedes was Sasha Banks in WWE and Britt Baker was doing stuff in AEW. I think a lot of fans were like, these are the two women we want to see wrestle someday in the same ring. And now they have it. Granted, it's under a new moniker for Mercedes Moné, but I mean, I think for that, I think you got your two solid women matches right there at All In is, Mariah May and Toni Storm and Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné.
No, I think you're right. And I think that's where they're going to go. I still would, again, it's too bad. I know the time is, it's ticking. And I don't think I'm going to be getting what I've always been talking about for the last literally 6 months, which I thought they'd be doing a women's tag team tournament to decide the first AEW women's tag team champions. I thought this would be the perfect other match. You could have again a women's, the championship match, then the TNT championship match, and then having a third one by actually having four women compete because they'd have the tag team. So you'd actually have more of the women on there and actually competing to crown the very first AEW World Champions, tag team champions, which I thought would be fitting because that would just add an extra bonus to promoting. Oh, that's such a big, a huge event and having something so special. So I mean, I'd love to see them put together 8 women tagged teams. So so you're having 4 matches, then 2, and then having the final at All In, which they still could do. I mean, AEW is usually quick with these things as well, right? They're pretty good with hey, right? So they're not above that. I just think it'd be great because we haven't seen a lot of these women. There's a lot of good talent, Again, it's almost like for this on the women's side of things for the Owen Hart Foundation or whatever tournament. It's like, Nyla, let's throw Nyla Rose in there in the first round. Like, where has she been? Like, why? There's so many. I didn't even think she was still with the company. Right? Like, there's so many. There are at least probably easy 10 women just sitting on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a mosquito or bugs flying around you?
It's a fly, and it's really annoying me. That's why I'm doing this because I'm trying to catch it. But yeah, no, it's a fly. I totally agree. I mean, yeah, you got Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo having some storyline going on that not a lot of people are paying attention to. Like, I mean, nobody's noticing it. Like, they're having certain matches together, but nobody's noticing it. Like, all the focus is on Britt Mercedes and then Toni Storm and who's ever involved with her.
Oh, and Willow and Statlander.
And Willow and Statlander. Those are the only feuds that are getting focused right now where, hey, you also got a really good one with Thunder and Deonna. I mean, these two women are also very talented. So you can spotlight that, So, yeah, I think, yeah, I honestly, I don't know how I feel about a women's tag team titles. I mean, maybe a third women's title as it may be, but that'd be too much.
They gotta go tag.
But that's the thing with there's so many titles already. I mean, we just mentioned it earlier, like the fact that you have the Ring of Honor World Champion on AEW TV more than his own promotion. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's more titles, and now, side note, I heard article that there's discussion of bringing in a women's U.S. and a women's Intercontinental title to WWE. Yeah, it's like, bro, that's still a lot of freaking titles. Like, that is a lot of titles. So it's like, a promotion can have too many titles, and which is fine because now it's just, to me, I'm sorry, it's just feeling like participation trophies in pro wrestling. So I'm like, I think we have enough for right now. Let the crowd get behind what they have now as far as titles.
I mean, for me, I just feel it makes sense for the women's title because then you're bringing women together to utilize a greater amount of your locker room and also creating something new and exciting, right? I love tag teams, right? I'm a big believer of, hey, if this guy's struggling, this guy's struggling, throw them together, give them a personality, new moves, new look, boom, reinvention, right? So I think the women's division definitely needs some of that. instead of throwing these ones and twos and focus on like 4 women or 6 women when you've got 10 in the back, waiting for something, right? Throw a tag tournament in there. I mean, that's what I would like to see. But I understand your point. I think I don't want to see another women's singles tournament. I mean, singles title. If they're going to do that, then they're just going to incorporate the Ring of Honor women's title, right? And we're going to see. Is it what's her face? Is that she's still holding it? Um, who is the Ring of Honor women's champion?
Athena,
Okay,
and
so
then the
Athena.
TV champion for them is Billy Starks.
So yeah. So I mean, if they won another women's title, they could just throw Athena on Dynamite and have her just kind of like what they're doing with Mark Briscoe, right? And then dilute the product even further. So, but I mean, that's what I am hoping for. But I'd love to see what they're going to do. I mean, I think they're also going to incorporate. I do think Jamie Hayter will come back because I think that'd be a great way to have, even if she that surprise return is at all in. Even if she doesn't wrestle, at least getting that pop, I think, is important. Interesting to see. Are we going to see Soraya, right, being another hometown? Are they going to utilize her in a way? So it'd be getting interesting. So I guess we're going to find out, within this week, especially in the next week, what's going to happen. With we've got Blood and Guts coming up, and then All In. So we'll see, because that's a lot of tickets. They're going to sell a lot of tickets.
Yeah, I agree.
I did see. I saw it today, and I don't know how much validity it has. I don't know if you saw the headline, because I was kind of hoping, and I was expecting to see the what Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah,
I was actually expecting to see them come into AEW, but I heard a rumor today that WWE is like secretly re-signed them. I don't know if you saw that. If you saw that today.
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not read that. No.
So in that case, that's very interesting. Which, I mean, I think that'd be a great move for WWE to really infuse the lacking, tag team division. So that'd be interesting. But again, I thought for sure they would be coming to AEW, because they seem like the type of team that would be coming, right? I think that'd be a perfect. I also think that's a perfect fit for them as well. The guys are pretty talented. So, but yeah, got some interesting things to watch. Oh, and we saw just before we wrap up, we did see the return of Marco Stunt,
Yeah.
which was kind of interesting. Came back as a little bit of a bit of a reunion. For they had him kind of a quick reunion there with Luchasaurus, or aka Kill Switch, and then obviously getting pummeled by Jack Perry. One thing I'd say, and I can't remember if this was that actually for the title. Do they do that one of those matches like, yeah, it's like an open challenge and it happened with the belt on the line? 'Cause I
Yeah,
can't
it
remember.
was an open challenge, I believe.
So
So
I'm kind of over these. I think when AEW is getting bad for that, because I think when you're building feuds and you're building rankings and you're trying to make it that a championship match is really worth something, and you're
mhm.
building up storylines to it, I don't like when they do stuff like that. Granted, they have him fight, have Jack Perry fight, but he doesn't have to put the title on the line, and it shouldn't be a title match with someone like a Marco Stunt that comes in just for like a bit of a stunt, or it doesn't mean anything, because it's going to be a squash match and it doesn't mean anything. So why even there's no need to put the title on the line, because it just takes away from your storylines, of guys competing to get that, when someone's like open challenge, and oh, look who walks in off the street and just takes the challenge, right? I think it irritates me. I don't think it makes sense, and I think it takes away from the storyline and the lead up to a championship match. But I don't know. What your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I like the idea of them having the open challenge again and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. Someone like a Marco Stunt, because that crowd, half of it was into it, and then the other half was like, oh, it's Marco Stunt. Like it's just like, all right, this is nostalgia because they were both in a group. But I do like the fact that they're doing open challenge still for the TNT title. They haven't done away with it. I just want more names that are AEW. Like I love AEW wrestlers to come out to answer the call. Ones that aren't getting utilized. Like how about a Wardlow comes out of nowhere and Jack Perry finds a way to cheat to retain the title over Wardlow. Like that never happens in real life, but it will happen with, you know, Jack Perry. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I would love to see like more AEW talent being utilized um, for the TNT Open Challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I get your point, and yeah, there is that kind of excitement. As long as I'd love to see if they had a little more variety instead of like when they do these things, it's someone from like someone just making their debut in AEW, or someone who completely doesn't make sense, right? Like you want to see guys that are stepping up. Like, oh, this guy's stepping up. Okay, that makes sense. Not just nostalgia act. And I think you borderline when Tony Khan just loves shock value, and then sometimes you're like, okay, shock value for the sake of shock value, but then that shiny coin that worked this week, you're like, nah, just put it in the pile, right? And then move on to the next surprise, right? It's all about surprise, 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 and ratings and ratings, ratings, to the point that things don't necessarily make sense. So, but it's the world of professional wrestling, right? So what do we know? But it's always exciting, and we always keep tuned in every week. So, and it gives us something to talk about on our show. So what can we say? For all the times that we discuss and how much we discuss, it just shows that how good they're doing a good job, right? Because we could never guess it. I mean, if we were on point and we guessed every single thing, then we'd be bored. But we're only right maybe half the time, maybe 60%, maybe 70% of the time. But that kind of keeps us on our toes, right? Keeps it interesting, because they can't always give exactly what the fans want. So, but anyways, we'll find out. We'll see tomorrow night. We've got Dynamite, which I'm sure there's going to be more storyline developments as we approach two of the big kind of cards, right? The Blood and Guts, as you mentioned, at the end of the month, and then All In that we've got in the end of August. In mid-August, end of August, mid-August. Right. So I think they're really going to start hammering if we're getting close to, 5 weeks away, right? This is crunch time, right? For building storylines to sell tickets. So we'll see how that goes. But, before we sign off, I know you mentioned, again, you're going to be doing your show once again here on YouTube on Thursday night. And did you have something special planned?
Yes, this is a special announcement. Very exciting. For the first time ever on Talking Elite, we are having an interview. Very excited to give my time slot to an interview. We are going to be hosting former WWE Women's Champion, former TNA Knockouts Champion, former pro wrestler turned entrepreneur, Miss Victoria, aka Tara. She will be joining us on Thursday for an interview live on Talking Elite. So anybody watching now, make sure you join us that Thursday. Have your questions ready in the comments. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be sharing it like crazy all over social media. I'm sure us as a podcast will be sharing it like crazy over social media. We are very excited to have Victoria on Thursday night.
Oh, that's perfect. That's awesome. Hey, that'd be great if we could have a little clip. You can say, hey, this is what happened this past Thursday on our next show, just to say, here's a good clip from that. I'm all for that. If you want to do a little clip, and
I mean, I can talk to our great producer Connor and see if he can clip something for us on an interview and share it with us here. Share it with everybody here on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. And then see you asking some fine questions, as I'm sure you will. So that's exciting.
Well, I'm an advocate for women's wrestling, so I mean, I'm going to be having a lot of good questions about it.
Well, I wouldn't want anyone else giving that interview. So good on you, Adam. Good stuff. And great week again. It was nice to hang out with you again, and always a pleasure. And we'll do it again next Tuesday night, and we'll have even more information and more predictions and more ups and downs from the week that was in the world of professional wrestling. So, Adam, again, great to look forward to your show this Thursday. That's amazing. I hope you've had fun with that and everyone tunes in. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in again tonight. We always appreciate the support. And whether you're watching it live or you're watching after the fact, we always appreciate it. And if you could always like and subscribe, we always appreciate. So thanks very much. And we'll see you again for another week as we return next Tuesday night here on AEZ All Elite Zone. Cheers, everybody.